Well, hello everybody, welcome down into the dungeon for day 2 in this 30 and 30 challenge that I am, well, trying to figure out what to do with. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what we're going to discuss today, so I think the reality of it is we're going to go take a look around at what's left of my old aquaponic system and, well, take it from there. So, yeah, without further ado, let's step outside into the minus 30 weather. And we'll take a quick look around because it's got to be quick. My camera doesn't like the cold. Alright, so I still have a few, ooh, that's got bright fast, a few different bits and pieces of my old aquaponic garden kicking around. And that's just a terrible lightscape. The first of them is just outside the back door here. How many of you remember when this housed a beautiful collection of goldfish? 55-gallon drum. This is currently part of our rain collection system. It's not great, but you know what? It fills up pretty fast in the rainstorms and allows me to take the buckets through the gate to the good life, over to the garden over there. As you can see, my ground cover crop this year is doing very well. Lots of white growing out there. Anywho, so there's my old fish tank. Crunch, crunch, crunch through the snow. If we move around in the back here, hey Rev, I dare you to wear your flip-flops in this. You might remember this blue bin. This was my settlement tank. And, well, as most of you are now very aware, I am a firm believer in settlement tanks, and I just couldn't help but put my out right in the middle of the recycling symbol there. I may or may not be able to use this in future systems. It's been sitting here, also functioning as rain collection. That was pointed straight towards it earlier. Not quite sure what happened with the twist there. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure if I want to be able to use this into my system. There was a dead squirrel in it last year, and no one recalls taking it out. But before things froze, no one knew where it was either. So I just don't know. I mean, there is also the possibility that the bottom of this has cracked and all kinds of things. It's not exactly in a happy place right now, you know? So, yeah. This looks very much like one of the beds that I used to have in my aquaponic garden back in Penticton, but it is in fact the spare sled that we got. They were on sale for half price, so instead of $50 they were $25, so I figured, well, I'd planned on spending $50, why not get 2? I may still convert this to a new aquaponic bed. It's got some nice depth to it, and Pelican plastic is very sturdy, so I've been very impressed with, well, the abuse this thing has put up with. But not technically part of the aquaponic system, but purchased as a potential part of the aquaponic system, so I figured I'd throw it in this little video. Anyway, back into the shop here. This place is a mess. I still haven't cleaned this shop up since we moved in. Half of it's still in boxes, and chainsaw boxes. Yeah. But I mean, let's face it, it's not really a man's shop if it's clean, is it? It's a woman's shop. Men don't really keep their things that tidy as long as we know where they are. In general, that's good. Now, okay, back to bits and pieces of aquaponic garden. This, and by this I mean our little black tray inside here, is actually the very first thing I ever purchased specifically for an aquaponic garden. This also cost me like 50 bucks, so I thought getting those 2 ice sleds for 50 was a much better deal. But I bought this black tray here at a hydroponic supply shop, and ultimately I'm still not entirely convinced this was a good purchase idea. I'm going to try and get over there, but I got to go past some bikes here, and I'll show you the difficulty that I had with this bed. Let's move some things around here. And we get to where my bell siphon is. And like I've said in that previous video and so many other videos, I am a huge believer in the value of bell siphons. They've just worked really well for me. But the problem with this bed is, as you can see, it's got this indentation there. So I had kind of no choice but to go with this size of pipe. And trying to put, well, a protective unit around it was tricky, so in the end, it's just another job for a Folgers can, isn't it? But this works surprisingly well. So this whole table may potentially be brought downstairs. Oh, we're starting to frost up the camera here, so I don't know how much more outside time I've got. Anyway, this table and its stand may potentially make it downstairs. It really all depends on how the initial starts go with moving into aquaponics in the basement, and how well Shocks deals with all of that. Down here, yeah, that is still the same 400 gallon per hour pump that I have been using since I can't even tell you when. It's been around for so long. Crazy. Probably, oh, I don't know, 2013 I got that. So I'm going to try and rescue that. However, I don't know if I would be able to use this tote or not, because when I left it, it was half full of water. When I came back, it was empty. And now if we look, that almost looks like dirt or something in the bottom there, so I don't know if something has chewed its way through or what. Come summertime, I'll be able to pull that out, fill it with outdoor water, check it for leaks, maybe bring it back to use in the system. I just don't know. Gnomes. And of course, microbe lift. Do you feed your goldfish anything? Do you feed your koi anything? I recommend microbe lift. My colors were so distinct after I started feeding them that goldfish food. Actually, I think that in particular is koi and goldfish food, but they were so healthy, they were so bright with their colors. I will never feed my fish anything else if I have that as an option. Remember Miles the turtle? And then we've got my most recent fish tank. This beautiful IBC tote. As you can tell, this is pretty much in the same state that it was in last winter. It is absolutely frozen solid. And by August, it should thaw enough that I can maybe get the pipes that are in there out. But until then, there's really not much I can do with this. I have been toying with the idea of measuring up the side and finding out just how tall I can get away with having it, because I'll need to cut this if I want to take it into the dungeon. And that's kind of a tragedy, because right now I've got a 300 gallon liquid storage container. At best, after I cut it, I'm thinking probably somewhere in the neighborhood of here. So that's like a quarter of it, you know? It's like 75 gallons. That's only slightly bigger than the big white drum. So I'm kind of thinking maybe I should just drag this out after everything thaws, of course. Because, I mean, I have a door here. That's how I got this in the first place. But I'm thinking maybe I should drag this tote out, put it into the rain collection system, take my barrel back, and take that down into the dungeon, because I know it'll fit through the door. So right now, all of the previous pieces to my aquaponic systems are, they're spread around everywhere, they're frozen into things, and it's really going to be darn near impossible for me to make use of them before gardening season. And obviously, part of why I want to get started in aquaponics is so I can get an early jump on the garden season. And, well, there are lots of reasons I want to get started in aquaponics. We might even just make that a whole separate video. I think today, though, it's just kind of about what's going on with my current, we'll call it equipment, for my gardens, and why it is that I just haven't got anything going yet. Now, you'll notice downstairs, I've got the appearance of concrete walls. I'd say 2 of the walls appear like they're still the old concrete. And then one of the walls was partially finished, like it's got 2x4 framing, and then there's all the insulation in there, and they put the vapor barrier on there, and then they only covered half of that wall. The other half of it, you can still see the insulation. You've probably noticed that in the background of some of my dungeon videos. And then where the flag is, they've kind of finished that wall too, but we don't know what's behind that wood. We don't know how well they finished it. And if they finished that wall as well as any other reno in this house, the whole thing needs to be redone. Because let's face it, that's why we got this place so cheap. Basically, we bought our house for half of the price of the land it sits on. So, I mean, I couldn't say no to that. Shocks couldn't say no to that. It was an incredible opportunity. We would have already spent in rent what we spent to buy this place. Now, granted, that took us back to absolute zero, which is why I've been unable to build a greenhouse, which is why I've been unable to make these renovations to the house, because we dropped our whole bank to make this move happen 2 years ago. And honestly, I wouldn't change that for the world. I think moving out here has been an absolutely incredible decision. There's been a lot of weirdness involved in it, and obviously there's a lot of cultural change, there's a lot of social change that goes along with that. But if you're prepared to follow your dreams, then sometimes you're just going to have to accept huge change, things that feel like setback, and you got to just keep reminding yourself that even though it feels like it's a setback, it's still a move forward. And that is kind of where we're at. And I mean, I know a lot of you have been faithfully, loyally waiting, hoping, praying for me to get my aquaponic garden going again, because that is what I started this channel on. I mean, technically, Shocks made me start this channel because I was researching Rob Bob, Murray Hallam, and all kinds of people for aquaponic gardens, and I'd started fiddling with it. And I got to a point where I was growing cabbage in one of the Folgers cans, and I was out there in our little greenhouse, and I pulled the roots out, and Shocks was like, "Oh my God, you have got to make a video of that." She ran inside, she got my little Fujica camera, and that's what happened with the first video. That's why I didn't say much. And I mean, the second video I put up, I didn't say anything. So yeah, that's kind of why I got started in YouTube, was because Shocks wanted to show the world how far I was coming with my aquaponic adventures, and I think that's really sweet. But I mean, look at this, it's 670 videos later. I think this will make 671. I've been at this since, what did it say this morning? June 28th, 2012 is when I started my YouTube channel. You know, and I have learned a lot about aquaponics, and most of that is because of the awesomeness of my viewers, like you watching this now, giving me your advice, giving me your thoughts and your ideas. A lot of them I have made use of, a lot of them I haven't made use of, and, you know, to some extent I'm really sorry if you've given me some good ideas and I haven't made use of them, but I get so many suggestions thrown at me over the course of a day or a week that it just becomes almost impossible to keep track of everything, and it would be impossible to make use of all of the ideas because some of them are just directly in conflict with others. And, you know, it's nothing personal. It's just I'm trying to do the best I can to make this work and to keep everybody happy all at the same time, which is impossible. You know, you can't make everybody happy, but it's real easy to piss everybody off, right? So anyway, I am way off topic, and I guess that is about where I'm going to wrap it up today, because this is where we're at with the remains of my aquaponic system, and, you know, I'm going to have to dig some of this out, because it looks like we're going to be going to get fish before I'm going to be ready converting that hydroponic garden. Shocks has talked about maybe next week heading down into Brandon there, which, like I said in a previous video, is an hour drive. It's a beautiful hour drive, but it's still an hour each way. And it's minus 30 out there, so I'm going to have to warm up the Jeep to a pretty reasonable temperature in that drive, like the cabin of the Jeep, so that it's warm enough for the fish and I don't just freeze shock them as soon as they come out of the pet store and bam, they're dead before I leave the parking lot, right? So yeah. So that video will be coming up on the soon-ish side of things. I'm not going to give you guys an actual date because I don't work that way. But on the upside, I'm 2 for 2 out of 30. So we're just going to have to see how that works out. Tomorrow is a no-brainer because I get to do my my garden update, and we'll check on how those seedlings are doing, transplanted into the water bottles and things like that. And then I think Monday, if you want to catch the Monday video, you're probably going to need to go check out the Bear in the Kitchen channel, because I've got some bananas that are looking about ready to be used for cooking, and I found this recipe for these banana granola bar things. So yeah, that looks fun, and it looks like I should actually be able to do it. So I think that will be Monday's video. Tuesday, you may want to check out the Outdoor channel, because I've got this little Vigilante pellet gun that I've been meaning to unbox and play with for a while. So that might be Tuesday, and beyond that, I just don't have a clue how I'm going to fill up these 30. Feel free to throw some suggestions down below. Shocks has mentioned we might even go live tonight. And if we do, I'm counting it. I'm counting it. That's 3 of 30, even though it's the same day. And Rev, Rob, Dave, Punky, I know you all have been a part of this conversation, so I'm counting on you to back my play. If I do choose to go live, and if I do choose to use them as numbers towards my 30 and 30. All right, I am just babbling at this point. I love you all, and I will see you tomorrow.